Welcome to Fly Fish, Ohio, and we're here with Steve Rajeff at the National Casting Championships in Cincinnati. Steve, thanks for taking a few minutes out of your busy schedule. There's so many things I want to ask you. I mean, this is such a privilege. Obviously, the Terminator. Holy smokes, dude. I mean, 35 national events you've been to. That's incredible. What passion drives you to be a part of this? There's fishing and there's casting. And
it all starts when I was a kid growing up in San Francisco. I really loved fishing. Our parents used to take us kids up to the Sierra Mountains. We'd catch trout on little push-button outfits around San Francisco Bay. I'd go in the piers and catch a little surf perch off of the docks and whatever. But as a kid, I wanted to do more of it, and by our parents' house in San Francisco was Golden Gate Park. Inside of the park is these beautiful ponds that are designed for people to learn how to do casting, whether it's fly casting, spinning, or bait casting. And I was around 10 years old. I went out there and I started flailing away and didn't know what I was doing, but lo and behold, a fellow at the club said, "Hey kid, wait a minute, stop what you're doing." I said, "What's the matter?" He says, "You're going to break your rod." And I said, "Why is that?" "Because you're hitting your rod tip on the concrete on your backswing. Don't go back so far." I had some really good lessons as a little kid to get started on hitting targets, and just that I loved the idea of hitting those targets. It was a fun thing to do, like shooting hoops at basketball or other sports. And that friends of mine would say, you know, if you really get good at casting, when you go fishing, you're going to catch more fish. So my first love was fishing. Casting helped me to be a better fisherman, and then the two just sort of evolved as a main activity of my life.
And to end up having that as a livelihood, as a vocation, as well as an avocation. What a wonderful thing. You started casting, I understand one of your earliest instructors was Mel Krieger. Is that right after he started himself?
Exactly.
What was that like?
I was very fortunate that when I got that first lesson and all of a sudden my rod tip was hitting the ground, that somebody heard that I was really interested, and I got a connection to Mel, who was a member of the club, and he told my dad, you know, my dad's name is George. "George, you need to get Steve a little bit better rod." We got a Fenwick fly rod, a 3-piece fiberglass for a 6-line, and he said, you know, "I'll meet with Steve after school." And so I started going out to the ponds, and my dad gave me a nice birthday present with this beautiful outfit, and so I was able to start practicing. And Mel had just joined the club about a year before that, so he was a 1-year tournament caster and had been a fisherman before that, but was just kind of getting better at it himself.
So he was already established a little bit as a tournament caster. He was already going down that path at that
right.
time.
And so Mel was willing to meet me after schools and do a little coaching, and so mainly it was fly casting. And he said, "Steve, I want you to enter the tournament in 2 weeks." No, I just want to cast to go fishing. He says, "Listen, if you hit those targets when you go fishing, you're going to place the fly right next to the rising trout and you're going to catch them." So I said, "All right, I'll go do it." So tournament day came, and I signed up, and I was there, and I struggled, and I was last place. And I said, "Well, I did my tournament, and I'm out of here." And he says, No. You got to stick it out. You got to do it one more time." And there was another young caster about my age. He was doing better than me and anything. So that was my other competitor, is the young fella here, and then plus my teacher. 2 weeks later, I came back for the next tournament. Everything seemed to work that morning, and I hit like 97 points out of 100, and I won the event. I beat Mel, I beat the other experienced casters, and so that's what really got me hooked, is to have an event that I can cast like fishing, and I can compete with the grown-ups at an equal level, in fact beat them. So that's my connection with Mel. He was like my first instructor for a month. Right away, right there and then, with that first tournament that I won, all the club members, they say, "Hey, who's this kid? Hey, well, let's get him to try this. Hey, Steve, try my spinning rod. Use my this." So I had instant loaning of equipment just to interest me some more, and that got me into some of these other events too.
What a fantastic opportunity. That's neat. It's neat that you started in the casting as a way to bolster your opportunity to go fishing. So clearly, do you come from a fishing family? Was that always part of what you did, or was this something that just you developed a fascination for?
My grandfather was more or less the sportsman in our family. He enjoyed hunting and fishing, and on our summer vacations, often our grandparents would invite us up to the river, and my dad was fully in support. He'd join us, but he wasn't the active outdoorsman per se. He was more or less just purely about raising the family, but I just developed that real keen interest and love for fishing and being outside. So I was not much of a hunter, but fishing just captivated me, and so at age 10 on, I just went whoom, head over heels into it.
That's fantastic. We have that in common. My grandfather introduced me to the sport that high,
yeah,
and I've never looked back. You started out with fly casting, and of course you've gone on to dominate in so many other areas: revolving spool, fixed spool. I particularly enjoyed the story about you and a PGA Tour and Fred Couples and
you heard about
surf
that
cast golf ball for 337 yards, which, dude, that's a quarter of a mile. I don't know if you realize this, but that's like an ungodly distance. How do you go from fly casting to a surf rod? I mean, these are as different as day and night.
Well, it's from the tournament sport at San Francisco, where I was told as a young kid, says, Steve, you're good. The club wants you to go, and we'll sponsor you to the national tournament, or you'll join the guys going to the national tournament. So it was 1967, 68. I was getting started. The first nationals that I was going to go to was in 1970, and for about the year going up to 1970, August of 70, for that year before, I was being taught how to do all these other events. So I may have already been doing spinning accuracy, bait casting accuracy, angler's fly. We actually had a 5/8 of an ounce two-handed light double hand spin event, level line, like 10-pound line, plastic plug, and so I was already doing that a little bit. But then I was shown all these unusual events. Our 17-foot double-handed fly distance. We have a single-hand fly distance where our shooting heads are like 600 grains, very heavy. Then we have events in plug distance that are totally specialized just to see how far you can go. There has been an event that was retired a few years ago called 5/8 of an ounce unrestricted distance. It means you get to go tinker with any tackle you want to come up with. Ultimate distance. No rules other than you cast it with one hand. Any line, anything, and the lure or the plug is 5/8 of an ounce. All said and done, I held the record when it was retired at 518 feet. So we're pushing the length of almost 2 football fields with a 5/8 of an ounce aluminum plug. The line, the techniques are very specialty, but all those events were shown to me back when I was like late 1960s. I was 12, 13 years old. So anyway, I was shown those events little by little in places and occasions. I had application for fishing, so like casting far off the beach in San Francisco for stripers. We had stripers on the West Coast in good numbers back then, so I went down to the beach and surf fished. I never really picked up spey casting for spey fishing until later on, but certainly the overhead event that we cast, double-handed fly distance, has application for steelhead and salmon fishing. Years later, I was a fishing guide up in Alaska in the middle 70s, and sometimes I would handle a double-handed spey rod up there. So little by little,
should bring with them something that
exactly. I'd try it up there, or at the casting pools. There was a number of expert fishermen there. Some of them were playing around with bamboo spey rods for fishing and trying it out on the Umpqua River in Oregon.